I made $5,000 on this trade. It took me only 10 minutes to find it using my very boring but effective analysis. In this video, I will show you why you don't need expensive indicators, why you don't need to sit in front of your monitors all day, why you don't need to complicate your strategy to finally make trading a reliable source of profit. Trading is not about emotions. It's actually quite boring but very profitable when you have a detailed step-by-step checklist. Over the past 3 years that I have been trading with this strategy, I have refined each point to perfection, and you should give it a try. Let me outline today's plan for our typical trade. You will be able to find such trades on the chart yourself after watching this video. First, friends, we will add an indicator that will automatically show us the zones of interest. For example, we will sell from the resistance zone and buy from the support zone. And all of this will be outlined by the automatic indicator, so you won't even have to worry about making any mistakes. Let me also sketch out how an upward trend looks from the lower boundary. Our trend consists of several waves of growth and several waves of decline. This can be a very fast trend, or it can also be a measured, gradually rising trend. Our next task will be to identify the weak points in our trending movement. We will look for these weak points around the key zones of interest that we marked in the first point. For example, we will look for the crossing of moving averages. This would look something like this, where the faster line crosses the slower one, and this will serve as a signal indicating that a correction may occur here. Instead of moving averages, we can also use trend lines as signals. We will look for them on the chart, determine the moment of breakout, and retest. We will also open trades for upward movements. I will show where to properly place the stop loss and where to set the take profit that the price will definitely reach. Well, let's move on to the first point of our checklist. Identifying key zones of interest. We always start with higher time frames. In this case, we are using the 4-hour chart on the Trading Forex platform. In situations where it can be difficult to identify horizontal levels on your own, we can use an indicator called Imbalanced Zone. Created by Frozen, it has 1,600 users. With a simple click, you can add this automatic indicator and we immediately get very non-obvious areas of interest. Let's take a special rectangle and highlight these areas of interest again. Here we have the first area of interest located at the bottom, and I will also mark the second area of interest located at the top. As we can see, the price has reacted to both buyers and sellers from both, the bottom and the top. So we can generally rely on these zones. If you see any obvious levels in addition to the imbalanced zones, such as this level, you can also mark them manually. After that, I can disable the indicator and switch to a lower time frame. Now, I suggest we look through the chart until it starts interacting with any of the upper or lower zones of interest. Look, we are getting a reaction and clear interaction with the support zone. I propose to add next 2 indicators that will help us identify the weakness of the trend for entering a trade. This is the next point of our checklist. And now we will add 2 automatic indicators with moving average lines. The indicator is called Cross. It's a standard indicator on TradingView. You can add it with a simple click and set the following parameters. Here we set the period to 10 and the period to 25. In styles, we can make the slower line thicker for better visibility. This indicator is suitable for higher time frames such as 4 hours and 1 hour. We should see at least a breakout of the price chart above the slow moving average line, and ideally a crossover of 2 lines. Let's see how the price movement develops further. As we can see, a double or maybe even a triple is forming, and here we have a first signs of trend weakness. The price finally breaks above the green lines and we are almost seeing a crossover. The next step will be to add a second indicator called moving average cross, but this time this indicator is from the author ChartArt and has nearly 16,000 users. You add it, disable the old indicator, and switch to a lower time frame. For me, that's the 15 minutes time frame. Let me explain why you need two indicators. The thing is, for higher time frames such as 4 hours and 1 hour, to see the global weakness of the trend, we use the higher time frame and the moving average lines with short periods of 10 and 25. In this situation, when we are preparing to enter a trade, we need to switch to a lower time frame, say 15 minutes, and here we will require moving average indicators with longer periods, such as 50 and 100. Our signal will still be the price consolidating above the two moving average lines, and as in this case, or the crossover of these moving averages. In this case, I conclude that we can open a long position. For this, we will turn on the Imbalanced Zone indicator again, which can be easily hidden here, and pull our take profit to the nearest zone already on the 15 minutes time frame. So when we set our take profit and stop loss, we focus on key zones of interest on the lower local time frames. We end up with a trade that has a good risk to reward ratio. It will be a really reliable and confident trade, since we can also draw an additional trend line and see that we already have a breakout and retest of this trend line. Let's turn off this indicator and see how the trade develops. I made $5,000 on this trade. It took me only 10 minutes to find it using my very boring but effective analysis. So our trade has been executed and we are returning to our working higher time frame of 4 hours. We clearly understand that we still have relevant zones of interest, and we are also wanting for the chart to start interacting with them on the higher time frame. Now we see that on the higher time frame, the chart is starting to interact with our resistance zone, which we previously marked using the Imbalanced Zone indicator. We return to the first point of our checklist, namely identifying key zones of interest. We need to find what could become a trigger for our trade. A trigger is either a crossover or a breakthrough of the moving average lines, and at this moment we can observe the weakness of this upward trend on the hourly time frame, because we are experiencing a breakout and a consolidation below the green moving average line. At this point, I suggest we turn off this indicator again, switch to a lower time frame, and turn on the second indicator. As you can see, we are currently also positioned below the two moving average lines with no longer periods. This means it's time to move on to the last point of our checklist, which is to formulate a trading plan for this trade. We are turning on the Imbalanced Zone indicator again to determine an adequate target for our trade. We have a very good risk to reward ratio, so I can move my stop loss a bit higher to make my trade safer. With this trade, if I'm not mistaken, I earned over $6,000, and it took me less than 10 minutes to find and execute a successful entry into this position. The price successfully reached my take profit, and I also congratulated my subscribers in my Signal Telegram channel, because in this trade we captured a whopping 612 pips of pure movements in one take. This brought me $6,120. Guys, I just analyzed 2 real trades for you based on my real example that were executed using this strategy. And believe me, this is absolutely nothing complicated about them. To succeed, you just need to practice more. Subscribe to my Telegram channel, you don't lose track of me, and don't miss new videos about successful Forex trading. Thank you for watching. See you soon.